Today's video is a little bit different than something I would normally do, however I do want to start doing more guides. I decided to make this video because recently I wanted to get the Mage Arena II cape on my alt, but I cannot find a single guide that is not either outdated or uses a pretty subpar method of going about it. So instead I figured I'd make my own guide. Also, no offense to anyone else that might have made a guide, I probably just didn't watch yours. I'm lazy. Okay, whatever, let's get started. Let's get you your capes. So, first off for the requirements, you obviously must have completed the Mage Arena 1 mini quest. You need 75 magic, and after completing the Mage Arena 1 mini quest, you needed to have casted Claws of Guthix, Flames of Zamorak, and Saradomin Strike, each 100 times inside the arena. If you need to check if you've done that, try and cast one of them on something outside of the arena, as if you haven't done it 100 times, it won't allow you to. However, once you do reach 100 inside the arena, it will tell you in chat. Another thing I would recommend is being able to use Protect from Magic, because otherwise this mini quest is almost impossible. In terms of gear, we are going to be risking as little as possible and focusing mainly on defense. Now, you will not need any of the gear in part 2 right now, so if you have it out already, put it away. This is something I'm going to explain in the inventory setup section, as there's also a part 1 for that. For now, literally wear nothing, otherwise you're going to have to bank it all or unnecessarily risk some stuff. Now, for part 2, this is something I've yet to see any other guide talk about. Each monster you have to fight in this mini quest has negative 60 magic defense and a positive 80 magic attack. So no matter what, you're going to hit these things fairly consistently with magic. So our main focus is going to be defense. Personally, I like using Black D'hide as it's cheap and easily replaced with, which allows us to bring 3 higher value items that will both increase DPS and add magic defense. Not to mention, the Black D'hide will be nice should you run into any PKers. I personally used an Occult, Tormented Bracelet, and Ancestral Hat. If you want, you can swap these things for other things that are more or less expensive. I know not everyone can afford these since they're fairly high tier gear. You can also use something like a Mystic Hat, Glory, and Combat Bracelet. Pretty much just start with the D'hide and just go with whatever gives you the best magic attack bonus. As for the ring slot, wear a recoil as it will allow you to get lots of extra damage on these monsters. You'll also notice I have all 3 god capes and all 3 staves. This is because, let's say we're fighting the Zamorak boss, and you need to cast Flames of Zamorak. Well, you need the Zamorak staff first of all, and if you want to be wearing a god cape, it also has to be Zamorak, or it just won't let you equip the staff. So you may as well grab all 3 capes as they're free and give more DPS, and you're going to need all 3 staffs anyway. In terms of inventory for part 1, you're going to need a knife to get in and out of the mage bank, a stamina because you will be running a lot, the enchanted symbol which you get during the quest, and fill the rest of your inventory with food like wine and a telly like a seed pod or glory. For part 2, you're going to want a stamina, a brew, 2 or 3 restores, your enchanted symbol, an extra recoil, a knife, an emergency teleport, and about 100 casts of whatever spell you're using. So for example, if you're fighting the Zamorak boss, you're going to bring 100 casts of Flames of Zamorak, and just fill the rest of your inventory with food. I'd recommend something like sharks, because if you used wine in the first part, you may have noticed that it drains your attack, which is something that we kinda need. So now we are getting to the actual quest. So here's part 1. Speak to Collodion in the Mage Bank and ask about additional challenges. He will give you the enchanted symbol, which you will use to locate 3 monsters. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing these correctly, so Porazdir, Zachariah, and Derwin, which are respectively the Zamorak, Saradomin, and Guthix bosses. Now here is why I told you not to equip any gear yet for part 1. As I mentioned earlier, you locate the monsters using the enchanted symbol. Now every time you use it, you take some damage, which is usually fairly high, around 10 to 15 points. And if you're unlucky, you're going to be using this thing 20 to 30 times for each monster. By the time you find one, you're going to be out of food most of the time, and from my experience, you usually need a full inventory of food to defeat these things. So we're just going to use a simple 5-step process, which is locate 1 monster first, not all 3. Leave and gear up to fight that 1 monster. Return to kill it, take what it drops back to Collodion, and repeat. Now here is why we find one at a time. The monsters' locations will change, however it's about every 30 minutes. So it's crucial that we get back to them before this happens. You can take a little time gearing, but don't spend 10 minutes bank standing as it's a decent chance that they will change locations. So how exactly do we locate these things? It's basically just a game of hot and cold. Click the symbol, select the monster you want to find, and it'll tell you if you're hot or cold, getting colder, hotter, etc. The goal is to get it as hot as possible, until the message in-game says the symbol is visibly shaking and burns to the touch. This is when the monster will spawn, and this is how you will know their exact location. This map right here shows you every location that one can spawn at. Although I've found the maps can be a little off sometimes. So if your symbol is really hot and the monster isn't spawning, don't just run to the next spawn point on the map. Look around a little bit close by, as chances are you're just a couple tiles off. Alright, now this leads us into part 2. You've found a monster and need to get ready for the fight. Teleport either to a house portal or clan wars to reset your stats. Grab your gear and inventory out of the bank, which feel free to pause here as I'm showing what gear I used for the part 2 setup earlier. And do not forget to get the right god cape and spell for the monster you're fighting. So if you're fighting Pora's Deer, which is the Zamorak one, get your Zamorak cape and staff, as well as 100 casts of Flames of Zamorak. Don't bring more than that, as otherwise you're just giving PKers free money if they kill you. I found around 100 charges of the spell was fine, and I'm only about 75 magic. I never ran out during any of these fights. It might be even a little bit overkill, but I like to be on the safe side as I don't want to have to teleport back. Don't be that guy that brings this whole rune stack and loses 3 mil worth of runes, because regardless of how weird it is for people to PK you while doing this, there definitely are some PKers out here. Now, if you have a friend with a high enough magic level to cast Venge Other, they can cast Vengeance on you, and this will help you fight these monsters quite a bit. It'll more or less cut the fight time almost in half. So I'm going to walk you through, in real time, all 3 of these bosses. However, before we do that, I'm going to cover the mechanics that all 3 of them share. Their unique mechanics will be discussed when I'm actually fighting the bosses on screen. The mechanics they all share is Teleblock and Ice Barrage, which is honestly just downright annoying. And you'll see it can really get in the way when it comes to their unique attacks. Okay, so first of all, we're going to be fighting the Zamorak minion first. Keep in mind that this spawn is not going to be the same spot he spawns for you. I mean, it might be, but probably not. So first off, you want to put on Protect from Magic, and you want to use your highest DPS boosting prayer as well, which for me is Mystic Might, and cast the Flames of Zamorak spell on him. Now, you may notice that we're standing really far away, and this is because his unique ability is to launch basically this ball of energy, and the closer you are to him, the more damage you take. So what we're going to try and do is, because we can get Ice Barrage, you'll notice right here, I stand still the first time and I still take about 15 damage. Yeah, exactly 15. So what happens is if I were standing closer, I probably would have taken closer to 30, maybe even 40 damage. And this is really a problem because if we get Ice Barrage, then we take way more. So if you're not Ice Barrage, you try and run away. And if not, standing as far away as possible will negate most of the damage. You'll notice here in a little bit, he launches the attack again, and I actually managed to run out of distance. So basically, if you see it coming, keep DPSing until it gets a little bit closer, and then when it gets right up near you, you just run as far as you can. And you'll notice here I don't take any damage because I run far enough. Other than that, this boss is pretty simple. It might hit a little hard, but luckily our Black D'hide is protecting us from most of the magic attacks. You'll notice he splashes actually quite a bit, which is a little surprising, especially with such high magic attack levels. But because our magic defense is so high, it's not too much of an issue. So I'm gonna let the rest of this clip play out. There's only a couple seconds here, but we kill the demon, we pick up the heart, and personally what I do is, in my position right now, I feel like I have enough food to run all the way back to Collodion without needing to restock. But you may be more comfortable going to the bank, you know, grabbing tank gear and then going to Collodion. So here's the thing, if you get PK'd or die to another monster, no matter what, you're going to lose the drop. So personally, I just ran right back to Mage Bank, but if you want, you can just go to a normal bank first and get on tank gear or something like that. But if you think you have enough food to get back there, then you should be okay. Okay, so next up we have the Guthix one, which is Gerwin. So once again, you're going to put on Protect from Magic and your highest DPS boosting skill, so once again, Mystic Might for me. His special is a little interesting. You can stand as close as you want to him, it won't really matter. I don't even know if he can melee, to be honest, but what he does is, you'll see right there, he launches a little ball, and you need to kill it, or else every few seconds it's going to heal him for 5 damage. You'll see in the top right corner I get an XP drop for magic and HP. If the XP drop for magic is 75, then that means you've killed the little ball instantly. And other than that, it's pretty much this for the whole fight. There's not really too much else to explain, and I think you get the idea from the Zamorak fight, so I'm just going to cut it here, and we're going to go right to Saradomin. Okay, so the Saradomin fight is probably my least favorite one, and I got legitimately the worst spot. I got the worst spot to fight him in, and you'll see that here in just a minute. The special attack that the Saradomin one will do is it'll launch like a little shockwave through the floor, and if you get hit by that, he's going to drag you into melee range and just destroy you. Like, it's constant 20, 30s, 40s. It really eats up your food. And you can see here that I'm already poisoned by this stupid spider. And you'll notice later in this video, I'm gonna get hit by probably 4 spiders at the same time. It's just ridiculous. And the reason I hate this fight so much is because when you get hit with the shockwave and you're ice barraged, you can't do anything. You can't avoid his melees. You see, he ice barrages me right here. I don't know if he actually lands it. Yeah, I get frozen and then teleblocked. And then he should use his little shockwave here in a little bit. There it is. You'll see the blue wave goes through the floor, and I click away and I can't do anything, because I'm frozen in place. So this is probably the hardest fight, and if you get the spawn location here with all the spiders, I'd honestly just wait it out and hope he switches to a different area. Funnily enough, I actually ended up getting a looting bag from the Saradomin one, which I forgot was even possible. It's like 1 in 30 to get a looting bag from one of these, so that was honestly a pretty nice bonus for me. You get this one, you turn this last piece into Collodion, and you use whichever cape you want to imbue on him, and you are finished with Mage Arena II. That's really about it. If you want to get the other 2 god capes, you don't have to kill all 3 of them again. Let's say you want the Guthix god cape, you just go kill Gerwin and grab the Ent roots and turn those in again, and you have an imbued Guthix cape. So it's really just annoying the first time around. After that, it's a lot easier. So hopefully you enjoyed this guide. I really enjoyed making it. I think it's pretty straightforward, and good luck with your capes.